flip-flop for our market continues, although a lot of, volatility got digested and lapped up in trade yesterday. The fact that we, saw those jagged edges, every dip was getting bought into, or rather dip was getting sold into, every uptick was getting sold into, and every dip was getting bought into. And from there, we settled in about pretty much around the high point of the day, got done with the expiry and closing in at the 23,400 print for the Nifty futures. That said, the big one awaits. You've got the budget coming in tomorrow. It is an extended week, although the volumes may not be all that high tomorrow. But let's see how we kickstart the month of Feb.
The month of Jan has not been great. Even though it's the last day today, we start a brand new series. The month of Jan actually has been a very, it's never been that uneven. The small cap index and the mid cap stocks have plunged in the month of Jan. Everyone is feeling the pain, and Nifty in a sense is really masking the pain. While the index, and Nifty is down for the fourth series now, 2% down, 15 sessions of consolidation. So the big picture for the Nifty is not that bad. I mean, if I tell someone that, okay, markets are down and portfolios are down 15 to 20%, Nifty is down only 2%. Only 2%. For the Bank Nifty also, the carnage has not been that bad. So I think subdued is the word for the Jan series, or the month of Jan, for benchmark indices, which is Nifty and which is the Bank Nifty. But OMG, when it comes to individual stocks, look at the carnage what has happened in the small and the mid cap space. So interestingly, the market is telling you the following, that in the near term, it is in the mood to consolidate. Globally, nothing scary or untoward has happened. If we come on the right side of the budget tomorrow, and if the tariff, which in a sense are proposed to be imposed, and on 1st of Feb, White House will be announcing the new tariffs which the US is planning to impose, then we may just see some consolidation further in the market. So that is how I look at things. I think the pain in the small and the mid cap stocks is not over. Budget expectations are low. Everybody is hoping that the tariff war will not escalate. It would be more like a calculated, calibrated and a sensible announcements from Washington. So if we come on the right side of the event, if we get nothing from White House in terms of tariff, I think this market will be stable. But the positioning is so fragile, Aisha, that right now good news is not really acting as a filter.
Yeah.
Something on tax, something on fiscal deficit, all promise and no action, all promise and no execution. If the budget tone and tonality is there, then we are in for some volatility.
Yeah, absolutely. And volatile it has been for sure with us. But just want to mark what the global setup is looking like, while of course the disconnect with our markets and what the US markets in particular have been doing has been completely different, rather than, other than that one day of a shake-off that we had because of DeepSeek and the kind of repercussions that you had on NASDAQ. But US GDP, it's expanded at an annual rate of 2.3%. Now, that's a little slower than what the street was anticipating, because the street, I think, was working with an estimate of about 2.6%. Having said that, you've not seen much of a damage really on US equity markets overnight. You've got Apple earnings, which have managed to be a beat. So the futures on NASDAQ have definitely seen a big uptick. But even overnight, it was a good 168 odd points up in the green for the Dow. The S&P managed a close of about 0.5% in the green. So it was pretty okay, a handover when it at least came to the US equity markets. Asia this morning then, again, marginally higher, but you're not seeing any deep red cuts or anything that is sort of alarming for us, definitely. But yeah, having said that, WTI futures once again are climbing higher. We are at 73, so much under control, but it's seen a bit of an uptick coming in. And yeah, White House has reaffirmed plans for 25% tariffs. So tomorrow is the big deadline, like Nikunj, you were mentioning, and one needs to wait and watch as to what Feb 1st is going to entail, at least when it comes from the Trump administration.
So far big salvos have not been fired. and it really could be more posturing, and there really could be a calibrated move, because I mean, they say that Donald Trump is a businessman first and a politician next. So you would imagine that nobody really wants to shake the apple cart, because US economy is doing good. Any changes here and there which really could have an impact in terms of deglobalization, could have impact on dollar, it could have impact on local demand. I don't think anybody would chance that logically, but again, I mean, that's the logic. Logic does not work every time, but markets are hoping that there would be very little in terms of what could come out from this entire new tariff regime. Yes, of course, the first punch could be an impactful one, but it is not something which will knock you out. The direction would be affirmed, the intention would be clear, but in terms of an impact, I personally feel nothing large or nothing very scary should come out. Then we come to budget, Aisha. I mean, been covering budget for what, 15 years now together.
Yeah. And many years they've been too. But I was just looking at that, the way we've panned out in Jan vis-a-vis what the globe has done. I mean, look at a Dow. It's given you a return of 5.5% in the month of Jan, with it being that election verdict month. That said, S&P 500, 3.25% of a solid move. NASDAQ, with all the deep-seek threats and, the volatility that it came with, still managed to put on a show of about 2%. And the Nifty, which in any case was so weak stepping into 2025, has still lost nearly about 2%, 1.7% of a cut to be precise.
No, if you ask anyone that, okay, how are you feeling about the market, they would say 15% down, 20% down. I think average portfolio is down 15 to 20%. Within that, if Nifty is down only 2%, it is masking the pain. That's the great part about this market. That if
for
you ask,
just Jan.
For Jan. Individual stocks are, mid and small cap, the popular names on an average are down 8 to 10%, depending on which cut you're looking at, and perhaps even deeper if you look at individual stocks. NAVs in mid cap portfolios are down anywhere between 10 to 12% on an average in the month of Jan itself. The small cap index in the month of Jan actually got smoked. And I'm not even getting into SME and into some of these recent IPOs. So the market volatility has been daunting. It has haunted the market, but within that, I think Nifty is done rather well. The flat line the Nifty is hugging onto from last 10 days is actually not bad at all. But I want to go back to budget and markets now, and this just to establish, and I'll get into the budget template, but that's how markets have moved in and around the budget, which is that over the years, the importance of budget, and if you take that outlier out, which is 2021, that was the first budget which was given in the COVID era, and it was a very solid budget because it had a promise of government increasing capital expenditure. Markets have had subtle relevance with budget now, and that over the years has got diluted. Even on the budget day now, the volatility, which on an average used to be about 4 to 5%, that has just come down to 2%. So from a market standpoint, budget is important, it is crucial, but is there a big move which is anticipated? Based on history, looks unlikely. The other thought is that this time expectations are low, so a little bit of hope and some promise and one or two out-of-box ideas which are there, which markets like, we could see a bout of short covering. That's it. The best case scenario is that markets like the budget, there is a reaction, we see a bout of short covering, and then you move on. I don't think it's going to be any kind of a game changer. That is my view. And I'll stick my neck out and say that it would be a news-heavy Saturday, and it may not be a very big bang day or a game-changing move in the market in terms of the medium-term and the short-term trajectory.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.